Hi there, in this video you're going to learn about misleading graphs and statistics. Your objectives for today are to identify misleading graphs and statistics. Alright, identifying misleading graphs. Graphs let readers analyze the data easily, but are sometimes made to influence conclusions by misrepresenting the data. So here's an example of that. So explain how the graphs differ. So here you have graphs about the dance tickets, okay, the spring dance tickets. Okay, here you have the years, so every year, and the price, so $4, $8, $12, and $16. On this side, you have the years, same years, 06, 07, 08, 09, and 10, and you have the price, right, 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10. Okay, so the first thing that jumps out at me is the fact that the intervals for the prices are different. Okay, so that's one thing that I noticed about the two. Also, it kind of looks like the price in 2010 really shot up in comparison. Well, I should say the price in 2010 looks like it really shot up in comparison to the price in 2010 here. Okay, but when you actually look at the data, in 2010, still $8. 2010, still $8. Okay, so the major difference that I notice is that the graphs show the same data. However, the graphs differ in that graph A uses an interval of 4, right? 0, 4, 8, 12. Graph B uses an interval of 2. Which graph appears to show a sharper increase in price? So let's look at the two graphs, right? We're just looking at the graphs. This looks like it's going up, gradually. Here, it looks like it's going up a lot sharper. Look at how steep you're going from here to here, right? So the second graph, graph B, makes it appear that the prices increase more rapidly, even though the price increases is the same. Okay, so the price increase here from year to year is the same, but this graph makes it look like it's a lot more. All right, and now the next question. Which graph might the student council use to show that while ticket prices have risen, the increase is not significant, and why? All right, so if I'm trying to convince a group of people that the price increase is not that much over time, which graph am I going to use? Well, I'm going to use this first one because it doesn't look like the ticket price increased by too much. Whereas the second one, it looks like the ticket price increased by a lot. Okay, so if I'm trying to convince the people that it didn't increase too much, I'm going to go with the first graph. So they might use graph A. The scale used in the vertical axis of this graph makes the increase appear less significant. Misleading statistics. Statistics can also be used to influence conclusions. All right, so here's an example of that. An amusement park boasts that the average height of their roller coasters is 170 feet. Explain how this might be misleading. So you're going there and you're expecting all of them to be about 170 feet, right? Let's look at all the heights of the roller coasters here. We have 109, 135, 115, 365, and 126. None of these roller coasters is close to 170 feet. You only got one that's not, you only have this one right here, right? That's a lot more than 170 feet, but none of these are even close to 170 feet. But let's look at our mean, median, and mode. So in order to find our mean, right, you add up all the numbers, and then you divide it by 5, because there's 5 numbers, right? So that's your mean. 850 divided by 5 gets you 170. Your median, on the other hand, right, if we remember median, we line up the numbers in order from least to greatest, and you choose the middle number. So the middle number in this case is 126. And the mode, well, there is no mode here because nothing repeats. So the average used by the park was the mean. Okay, so the average used by the park was the mean. This measure is actually greater than most of the heights listed because of the roller coaster, that's 365 feet. See, this roller coaster is throwing off the average height for the rest of them. So this is misleading to use this measure to attract the visitors, right? If you're a visitor, you're expecting them all to be about 170 feet. in which case all of them are not that, right? Only one of them is higher than that. A more appropriate measure to describe this data would be the median of 126 feet, which is closer to the height of most of the roller coasters, right? If you notice, most of them are closer to 126 as opposed to 150. So just some concluding thoughts. Graphs can be misleading when you really look into the data. Just pay attention to the intervals. And statistics can be misleading when you really look into the data. You need to pay attention to what's appropriate to use mean, median, or mode. All right, that's all for today. Thank you for watching. I hope you learned about misleading graphs and statistics.